Well, I'm here at a really fascinating conference in Stornoway. It's the first time that Nora conference, which is North Atlantic nations, lots of them smaller than Scotland, have chosen to come to Scotland to have this event. It's been held for the last 25 so years. So this is a bit of a big moment for the Western Isles. And I've got four fascinating speakers here who have sort of mind-blown me in all sorts of different respects. But can I just get them all to introduce themselves first, and you can hear which voice is whose?
Yes, my name is Gréta Jóhannesdóttir. I'm from Iceland. I work as a rural researcher in Bifröst University in Iceland, and I specialize in gender issues.
My name is Andrespa. I work with South Varanger Development Company, and I lead projects focused on entrepreneurship and innovation in the region and across the Nordic Arctic.
Right, and because nobody will know where South Varanger is, that is in...
That is in northern Norway, by the Finnish-Russian border.
Right, in the famous town of Kirkenes.
Yes, that is correct.
Right.
Yeah, my name is Ben Arabo. I'm from the Faroe Islands. I run a small local investment fund. That's my day job.
And? Well, you sound like there's something more interesting that you do at night now.
No. I do sit on various boards and get involved in various sort of projects with particularly with startups, local startups. And
you're the guy, when you were talking, you were saying that you've been all over the world, basically.
Yeah, I'm an economist by training. I used to work in the oil industry, so I lived in the UK. Actually, London is the place I lived for the longest outside of the Faroe Islands. But I studied in Denmark. I lived in London short periods in Aberdeen, and I lived in Jakarta, Indonesia as well for a year.
Right, and you came back to the
Faroe Islands in 2010.
With its cloud.
Yep.
Its
don't go there for the weather.
Because
it's the community, it's the way of life. It's more laid back. It's closer to nature, and it's a place where you can do a lot. I mean, you can put your mark on society if you want to, and and for me, it's also the culture and the friends and relatives, parents.
Yeah. That's something everybody has mentioned here, but last but not least.
Yes, I am Karen Maria Funding Luster, and I am from the Faroe Islands, but I've also lived in Denmark and in Norway the past couple of years. We have offices. I have a company called My Learning that makes AI learning more practical for students and businesses. And we actually have offices right by where Andre lives, or we have an address there, so we're kind of around the Nordics.
Now, let's just stick with you here, because there's a lot was said here about youth. In fact, the fear of failure seems to be a thing many people highlighted. Older people being very stuck in their tracks, telling you you're too young. It's just you wait till you get experience. How did you cut through all of that yourself?
I mean, I think I'll always be called too young, no matter where I go.
So, to be cheeky, you're under the age of 30.
Yes, I am 21.
Okay, there.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I started my first small company, a real company, when I was 14. And then you're too young, and I'm still too young to be doing what I'm doing currently, but you just have to not think about that and keep going in some kind of direction. And in terms of failing, I think I've had some very good support systems for me to learn how to fail properly and to get up again, like the youth entrepreneurship programs at my high schools in Norway, and also Ice Arctic Youth Community, which I'm now a part of, which is like a nice hub for inspiration for young people.
Right. Okay, and this is another point you made, actually, Andre, when you were talking about this fear of failure big time, that people should get over this.
Yeah, I think it starts with families and how they impact the development of young people. So young people are very innovative, and they would often want to try something, but then they are discouraged by the too risky, too uncomfortable, and you need to focus on all these traditional things, and you cannot spare any time because you might fail. And if you fail, it might not look good. We also had the discussion that in some areas you might actually look bad if you succeed, because there is so much of a assumption that you just fail So failure might be normal, but it doesn't mean that you are encouraged to try. It more like means that if you try, you will fail anyway, so it's no surprise. So it sort of works as a discouragement, but then there is the step that if the success is actually the bad thing in some communities, then there needs to be also the work done towards presenting the success as a positive thing and showing the role models.
There's so much in that, but I mean, one thing also that was picked up everywhere was the need to tell some of those positive stories, because everybody here is worried about young people leaving their various countries, but actually people are not talking enough about the people who are staying, who are there. Is that something that you're very strong on that too?
We are trying to show the examples of people that we bring to events through our projects and then present what they have achieved. So I guess Karin is also one of the examples that has joined and has brought something back and benefited her business. But we also have other people, one of them here, Daniel. He also went to international events through different projects, brought back business deals that helps him develop the business that he is doing for the benefit of the local community. And
right.
There are more.
Just Gréta, you were talking about, again, many things, but one thing that stuck with many people was gossip.
Yes.
Now, it's weird but you've actually done, academic work on the role that gossip plays sometimes in limiting horizons.
Yeah, I took my PhD, finished last year, so I'm sometimes called Dr. Gossip. Yeah, but it is so that I was researching young women in small communities, and the fact is actually I am also a woman brought up in a small community, which I still live in. So I also have this local inside knowledge of gossip, both being a gossiper, everyone gossips, and being gossiped about. But the thing is that these small, tightly knit communities where everybody kind of knows everyone, they can be claustrophobic, and gossip can be used to push people out as like a bullying method. So gossip is also used in slut-shaming for young women, and we are always seeking ways how can we have more women living in small communities, because men and women leave for education, and the women, they don't come back. So we have fewer women always. And what I did show with my research is one of the things that does affect us, and it increases migration outflow, is gossip and being gossiped about. So we need to change that, how we speak about other people.
That's a big one.
Yeah, it's a big task. I'm trying to change it. I'm giving lectures, and I'm using my knowledge in a way that academia sometimes they need to connect to people, like we are doing here with the young people. We're trying to take the theories into action and do something useful. I try to do that, so I give lectures to municipalities and teachers and companies and so on about gossip, workplace. Community, and how we work with speaking about each other.
Because it seems to be a bit about, I don't know if the Faroes have come to grips with this too, but there's like a framework of thinking about who's right, what's right to be, how you should be able to be. Björn Samuelsson, your Speaker of the Parliament, who was talking earlier, thought that having equal marriage was actually a big step forward to being able to say you can be who you want to be on these islands. You don't need to go to Denmark to express yourself. So do you pick up that same sort of theme in the Faroes? Yeah,
they do. But it's changed a lot in recent years. When I was younger, it was a lot more rigid and conservative than it is today. The past couple of decades have changed things quite a lot.
Have you done it consciously?
I think so, yeah. It's done in baby steps, and I think that's the way to go about it anyway. Because I think young people probably don't realize the change because it's just so slow and incremental. But compared to when I was young, you couldn't even buy alcohol by the bottle in the Faroe Islands when I was 18.
Right, so, we're all shocked and sorry for you.
Well, you could order it from Denmark by the crate,
yeah,
which is ridiculous. But there you go. But we had a very restrictive legislation, but that's changed, and now nobody wants to go back. And it's the same with things like that. Nobody wants to go back. People may whine a little bit when it happens, but because you have to do. I mean, the impulses are coming from everywhere, and young people today in the Faroe Islands are probably, although they're still rooted in the society, they're also citizens of the world with the same demands, same interests, and probably same worries that most of them.
But I mean, you guys have done some major infrastructure things. Even most Scots will have heard about the tunnels. You've got most of your islands literally connected. You've also got the world's fastest mobile broadband. That's got to help if you're trying to, connect with any kind of social media. But even you're still losing your young people and your university teachers in Faroese, not Danish. So you've really pushed the cultural boat out as well.
Yeah.
So what more?
Yeah, I mean, we're losing about 20% of each generation, but we have had a net, since 2014, we've had a net surplus. So basically the population has been growing. So at least we've done something right. And I'm a firm believer in infrastructure. I mean, some people think we've spent too much money on concrete and tarmac, but I think infrastructure is extremely important. It's much more important than people think, because with infrastructure comes opportunity. It comes, you can run a business, you can have an export business, you have increased flights, and tourism grows. And of course, digital infrastructure is extremely important because that's the window to the world. So that's when, if you do something, like you're doing, Camry, you can transport it anywhere.
But what you're doing now, explain this, is to use AI in a kind of positive way, and you're connecting up across actually more than even just Norway, I think.
Yes, we're doing a project across different sectors. Like our newest one is that we're actually working with a Danish student union. So that's 18,000 students who help us now. So we feel like it's not us really doing the project. It's very much the young people coming up with creative use cases on how to use AI. And we're just the facilitators of that, getting it all together and creating the courses.
She said. But can you give us an example? Because I think the trouble is it's hard to imagine. It's natural sciences. You're trying to get in and use AI to make those projects better.
That's just one of them.
Well, let's just stick with that. So have you got an example of how AI can do anything other than scare our generation fairly badly?
I think I want to pull forward an even more important example for me, and that's when we had our refugee language learning courses with the Red Cross, because it's people getting into a new community and not knowing how to speak the language and how to engage in the community in any ways. You can't do job applications, you don't really know where and how to learn Norwegian. And giving them like a tool, just like practical ways to learn Norwegian, to get into society, I think that really shows the impact and the positive impact that AI can really have on lives. Because, if I've gotten text messages back and people suddenly have found jobs because language is no longer a barrier for them in the same ways when making applications.
Right. How is Google Translate not doing that?
I think we all know Google Translate.
Like it's a bit wrong a lot of the time.
Yes.
And so AI is much better.
AI is much better. It has a larger data set to make the translations, and it also has more languages actually soon. I know that we fought in the Faroe Islands to have Google Translate for a long time. But in my experience, like ChatGPT is even better than Google Translate now, even to make those translations. So I think it can be used for a lot of wonderful things. You just have to tell people the good ways it can be used, and kind of also warn people of how to be source critical and how to use the different tools for the different jobs. Like there's a difference between using Gemini and Copilot and ChatGPT. And you have to kind of be clear with those differences to use it most efficiently.
Right. Okay, you're hearing this, folks. You mentioned something also that reminds me of Greta. You had mentioned this idea of community. Everyone's worried about numbers, the size of the community, whether it's up, it's down. And you were saying, actually, it's like making it a great place to be. I think this is echoed by everybody. Is so much, in a way, more important, to make a real community and a depth almost, rather than just lots of people drifting through.
Yeah, I think we need to have more focus on like being a well-being community and more focus on just having happy people in the community. Because the question will so often be, how many people are you living in your community? Not, are you happy living in your community? So I think we also need to change the narrative kind of for these small rural places, saying like, okay, we don't always need to be a big place. We need to be a happy place. We need to be a place of well-being, because the point is also that, I mean, happy kids and happy youth, they are the return migrants. They're the ones building up the future and coming back into our communities, building the communities up. So if we have a focus on, the well-being and a good community, good schools, and, listening to the young people as well, then we will have a future generation that says like, oh, this was such a good place to be grow up in, and I want to raise my kids here, and we want them to fly away and spread their wings and educate and see the world, but then we want them to be welcome again. And we have that practice. One that I heard of in Denmark had the logo Farvel og på gensyn. I'm not really good in Danish.
Well, you're better than me.
It means like have a good journey and you're welcome back. Simple, have a blast and you're always welcome home.
But this is something I noticed from the Faroes, the story that was told there about the small island of Suðuroy, the one that isn't got a tunnel connection, and Vágar, which decided to build an Olympic-sized swimming pool for its brilliant swimmer, Paul, suddenly forgotten his second name. And that transformed their island because they became a sports island with a sports academy, people coming from other bits of the Faroes, actually other parts of Denmark, I think now.
Yeah.
And again, Dennis Holm, who was the mayor there, said that if we create a brilliant childhood, people will want to recreate that for their own children. Has that worked?
Yeah, to some extent it has. They've maintained the population, and they're also they actually launched a new initiative with inviting people who work remotely to come, both Faroese and foreigners, to provide accommodation for them. And they say, well, if you do a kind of a remote working job, why don't you come up here for a year, and we'll accommodate you. And then they got some very beneficial scheme there, but I think it's working. At least he stopped the downward trend, and there's a slight increase.
I just want to finish by just talking about some cultural things. You did say something also, Ben, which I thought was really interesting. It was a thing about the way societies are depending on the length of time that it takes to do things. Let me go through the Swedish example.
It's based on a stereotype, but basically what the Swedes, they are very good at planning ahead. They plan ahead for decades. And the reason is because it's forestry. One of their traditional industries is forestry, so they have to plan ahead, 100 years into the future, because they plant new trees every time they cut down the other ones. So they plan ahead quite a lot. They're fairly good as well. They sort of think at least a year, probably 2 years ahead, because they're farmers. They're used to, you have to sow what you reap, and et cetera, et cetera. The Faroese, traditionally, they looked out the window, oh, the weather is good, well, right, we go fishing today. And that's why we're probably not very good at planning very far ahead. That's probably one of our weaknesses. But it's also a strength in some cases, because sometimes we just embark on things without overthinking them.
You embarked on building a tunnel without all the money to finish it.
Yeah, that's happened. Yeah, but I mean, there are good examples. Wow. But sometimes things do go wrong. But I think we've had more wins than losses. But sometimes things do go spectacularly wrong. But I think on balance, it's been to the benefit of our community.
It really made me think, because I'm sure I could say to you, it does take you more than a day to build a fishing boat. So the day that you feel you want to go out, you've already done quite a lot of the work to get out there. Yeah. And then we could have an argument about your fishing quota system, but we're not going there.
No, they're not going there. And of course, fishing boats, they used to be quite flimsy. But it still took a while to build them. But,
yeah, but I want for here, it seems to me a lot of the time that people that are living on these islands have a template of urbanness set upon them with infinite layers of complexity, which basically don't suit the outlook, which was very much the same as yours. It's very much, what's the weather like? Should we do the peat? Should we do the and it really brought it home to me how you can be at odds with your own culture, and then also having bureaucrats who are reproducing stuff that doesn't work for people.
No, it's been designed to bigger societies. So it's like having a coat tailored, and it's done for much broader shoulders than it doesn't fit. Something that's thought of in Brussels doesn't necessarily fit the Faroe Islands or anywhere else. I mean, it's just it's
Right.
horses for courses. You need
And just for the younger folk, there's a lot of talk in the end about taking the culture back that sometimes has been taken away from your parents' generation. This might not affect you so much in Norway, but it was certainly strong with the Greenlanders, the sense that, you wanted to take tradition and touch it and do stuff with it and not be told that's not yours because you're not doing it properly. Have you got anything to say? Is that something either of you feel?
I can talk a little bit about it. The two other founders in my learning are actually originally from a Sápmi background. And that's something in northern Norway, which is very prevalent. And the Sápmi people have fought very strongly for their rights. And they have actually gotten so much through. So I think as long as there's enough voices speaking up on these issues, you can do something about it. But it's all about numbers and people still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so finally, though, you guys, the young ones, what do you want to say then? Because people, I think, in Scotland are experiencing the same depopulation and kind of just feeling of hopelessness a wee bit. I mean, what's your guide for the older generations to do? Just get out of the way?
Embrace the risk. Support the initiatives that can put people together. And if you have been successful, reinvest in the future of your local community, no matter is it young entrepreneurs, women in business, silver entrepreneurs, the reinvestment is important.
Yeah, actually, you reminded me. Just say a bit more about that because you were so strong on that. If something has failed, it can be the beginning of the next thing. You can repurpose what didn't work the first time.
Yeah, definitely. You can get lots of learnings. You rarely repeat the same mistake, but you might avoid it in the next time. You might find new people, even in the failed effort. In projects, because we are at the Nora conference, you might get a decline on one idea. You can take it back, reshape it, and submit it again, or submit it with someone else for whom it's more relevant. So failure is often just the next step to move forward because you get the learning.
Right, that is so sage and wise, actually. But I just wonder, the final word for you then, what would you say then for sort of managing to help young entrepreneurs like you?
Like help us start businesses or live where we live.
Well, whichever, you like. Keep going, expand.
Keep going, expand. I think...
Are you under any pressure and stress?
I think entrepreneurship inherently is a stressful field, and I think it was also mentioned earlier that it's not supposed to be easy. But still, I would say being motivated by something else than money is probably what has driven me the most. Being motivated by like some vision of a better society and a better local community, because I really do think if you are building a good community, you will get the young people to follow.
Amen to that. Thank you very much. I can hear the next session gathering outside, and you still didn't get a full lunch, did you? You still think there's going to be some sandwiches left?
Get the coffee.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.